Hello, I'm Scot, Conway, PhD, JD, 8th degree black belt, here with an emotional genius lesson. I am the author of Emotional IQ and the instructor of Language of Emotions 101A and 101B. Today we are talking about instant state change, sometimes it's called state management. This is the most common technique taught for emotional mastery. However, it's also a dangerous technique. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then I'm also going to tell you why it's dangerous. Let me start with the story. I was teaching cartooning one day, and during the course of my lessons, I met the teacher that was next to me, and she was teaching logic, deductive reasoning, using a detective class to do so. One morning, she came out and said, "I'm so tired today. Oh, man, I just don't know what it is. I slept." And she went on about how exhausted she was. So I asked her if she would be willing to do an experiment for me. For this experiment, I said, all I want you to do is stand like you would stand if you had more energy. How would you be standing if you really had more energy? She said, well, I guess I'd stand more straight up. And I walked her through this bit by bit until she was moving with power and enthusiasm. She picked up her voice and started talking. "Oh, I'm just so tired. I have so much energy." I said, now you go into that class and you make your students think that you have passion and power and tons of energy today. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot, see what happens. Off she goes. I met her between classes. She came out of her room between classes. I met her in the hallway, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. I have so much energy. How does this happen? I was so exhausted before, and now I'm just powerful and energetic. This is just amazing." All she did is she used instant state change. She went from an exhausted state. She was dropping her head. She was talking so slowly. She kept using the vocabulary of exhaustion, even though she told me she had a good night's sleep. She had her morning coffee. She had no biological reason to be that exhausted. Now, if she'd been up all night, if she hadn't had her coffee, okay. You could make some excuses for that. She had no reason to be that tired. And so by controlling her physiology, she was able to actually create physical energy. Now, to think that an emotional state change could create that much power and passion and physical energy, let's take a look at this for a second. When you're in a negative, disempowering state, and you're kind of down, you're kind of doing that depression, the hopelessness thing, during exhaustion, and you're reinforcing how exhausted you are. You're thinking the thoughts of an exhausted person. You're speaking the words of an exhausted person. You're moving like a tired person. Just from right here, just one aspect of physiology. How deep a breath can I take from this position? If I don't change posture, that's not very much air. Now, if I stand up straight, I cast my shoulders back, chest up a little bit. Now I can breathe. And then as I start to move and I start to gesture, I start to get my blood flowing. My brain starts to engage at a different level, and then I've got energy going on because I'm creating the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP, because now I'm doing aerobic respiration. Once I start creating these positive emotions, then I get endorphins start to hit my system, and endorphins are energizing. So you stack all these things, and that's part of the power. You create actual physiological changes in your body. Now here's part of how instant state change works. You stand the way you would stand if you were feeling what you want to feel. You move, you gesture, you speak, you have the look on your face. And you don't come up and say, "Yeah, I'm happy. I really am smiling." It's very incongruent. You do everything, all of the pieces. You flash with your eyes. You put that look on your face. So for me, if I'm doing confidence, I'm going to step out with confidence and authority. Because maybe I have a presentation to do. In my case, I have a martial arts class to teach. And I need to step out, and I need to be in charge. Well, what if just before I stepped out, I got some terrible news? And there's something going on, and I've got a problem I have to solve. I could be very distracted. But I need to set that emotion aside for right now, and I need to step on the floor, and I need to be the master. I need to be in charge. And I need to make sure my students know that I know what I'm doing, and to come out and to lead the energy of the class. So then I just need to set the emotion aside, adopt the physiology of confidence and power, adopt the vocal tones of confidence and power, step onto the floor with that look in my eye, the movements and the gesture, like, okay, let's go. And adopt all that. And then here's part of what happens. Your biochemistry catches up in about 60 seconds. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So stand the way you would stand, or sit the way you would sit if you happen to be sitting down. Shoulders up, back a little bit. As you move, gesture larger, or however you gesture when you're feeling what you want to feel. Put that look in your eye, that smile on your face, or whatever's appropriate for what you're trying to generate. And now, that's the physical side. For the mental side, what would you be thinking? What would you be focusing on? If you wanted to feel good right now, if you already felt great right now, to feel great right now, what would you be focused on? What particular detail of your life best supports you feeling good right now? What's another thing that supports you feeling great right now? If you felt great, if someone exactly in your situation felt awesome right now, what would they be focused on? What part of your life? And it could be a simple thing as being grateful that, well, hey, I've got a roof over my head, I've gotten to eat today, I've got clothes to wear, I've got a car to drive, whatever it is for you. To start focusing on the positive things, because in life, there's a lot of negative things, and there's a lot of positive things. So much of how we experience our world emotionally depends entirely upon what we focus on. So choose to focus on what will support the emotion you choose to have. And then, what thoughts would you be thinking? So not only do you focus so that your experience supports your emotion, now what would you be thinking? How would you reinforce that? In the story, she was reinforcing tired. She was using the vocal tones of tired, the vocabulary of tired. And once she started to use the vocabulary of energy, once she started to go in there and move and gesture and do the physiology of energy and adopt the thinking of an energetic person, she ended up with a lot of energy. So what would you be thinking if you felt great, if you felt confident, if you felt powerful, if you felt happy, if you felt excited, if you felt in love? Whatever the feeling is you want to create, what would you be thinking? What would you be saying to yourself? What would your vocabulary be? What if you felt it even more? Whether on a scale of 1 to 10, if right now you got it up to a 6, what would you be thinking? What about a 7? What else would you focus on? How would you adjust your tonality? Say it out loud right now. Even just a gesture, a sound. If you're looking for contentment, you might just go, yeah, that's pretty nice. If you're looking for something more exciting, it's like, oh, that's exciting. That's amazing. That's awesome. Whatever it is that works for you, look for your vocabulary, how you express it, and you step it up. Now, here's something else I teach, the take every thought captive technique. It's very easy when you're just thinking in your head, that you're kind of thinking and then your brain's over there. I don't know if that happens to anyone but me. It happens to me all the time. So I talk out loud. When I'm talking out loud or when I'm writing, when I'm doing something on my computer or writing something out by hand, that helps guide my thinking. So we call it the take every thought captive technique. Now, better than typing it in your computer or even writing it out by hand is saying it out loud. Because what if I'm writing something, or I'm just trying to say, let's just think the thoughts. I'm trying to think happy thoughts. And, okay, well, you know, yeah, I guess there's some pretty okay stuff. I guess that was awesome. Well, you can tell if I'm saying that out loud that I'm not getting into it. If I'm typing it, I could look at it. Well, look, I typed it. That was awesome. I mean, I'm doing it right, don't I? It was right there. But when you say it out loud, you get your tonality and you get the tone of voice, you get the cadence and the pitch, all of that. So there's a huge difference between saying, yeah, that was pretty awesome, and saying, oh my God, that was awesome. So you want to pitch it in your tonality. If you really meant it, if you really felt the way you want to feel, how would you be saying that? Another example I use with my students all the time. What if I'm with my wife and I look at my wife and I say the right words? I say, I love you. But I say it like this, like, I love you. Or I look at her and say, I love you. Does that make a difference? Of course it makes a difference. So that's why you do these things out loud. That's why you use the take every thought captive technique, and you practice it out loud so you can feel the emotion that you're putting into it. So you come at it from the mind, and you use your thinking, you use your focus, you choose where you focus your mind, you choose your vocabulary, you choose your mental tonality, and you monitor that by bringing it down into the body. You do it out loud, you move, you sit, you gesture, you put the facial expression on, and you do it, and you make it happen. If you sustain that for just 60 seconds, this is how amazing this is. In 60 seconds of doing the physiology, that your biochemistry starts to catch up with you. When your biochemistry starts to catch up with you, the thinking part gets so much easier. When you get both sides coming together, emotions in the middle, you got your mind, you got your body, and you can do that immediately, boom, one shot, you're going on both sides, you can create that emotion instantly, and the biochemistry will catch up with you right away. So that's the instant state change technique. And you can imagine how powerful that is. What if you could honestly create whatever emotion you have? What if you're going into a meeting and you know you're terrified that your whole business rides on how this presentation goes, or your career rides on how this presentation goes, and you know you have to make it work, and you had to just adjust some things on the fly because you got to the office this morning and you found out that some things were different than what you had, and you've been kind of putting it together, and you step out. But when you are in front of that client, when you're in front of that prospect, you have to be on your A game. And you have to take all the fears, all the worries, all the concerns, set those aside, and you need to step into confidence. You need to step into certainty. Before you meet this prospect, you have to be ready to deliver your absolute best, and you need to believe it. You need to feel it. That's what instant state change is great for. Here's what it's dangerous for. There's some people, this is the only emotional intelligence skill that they learn, where they can learn to manage their emotions. Because if you learn my system, it's PUMU, perceive, understand, manage, use. Well, some people, they perceive what they feel. They have an understanding of how they feel. They manage their emotions, mostly by taking what they perceive and don't really understand and setting it aside. And they never use that emotion, they just change their state. And so really they kind of get stuck on the M of PUMU, of the manage. And this is how they do it. It's what's called state management by some people. So this instant state change. Here's the problem. If you're trained by me, you know emotions are a language. According to the language of emotions, that fear you felt means something. It means something's coming. I'm not ready. You might look and say, but I got as ready as I could, and so I set aside the fear. I did the confidence thing. I got out there. I gave him my A game. I did my very best right there. Well, that part's true. But if you understand that fear, you perceive the fear, you understand something's coming, I'm not ready, and you need to use that for something. What happened? How can you keep it from happening again? If your solution to fear is always, toss it aside, do confidence, do courage, do power, and that's your solution all the time, you're missing what are you not ready for. Do you really want to have every presentation finding stuff out of the last minute? You need to look at that and say, okay, so what happened here? How come we didn't have this information? Was the information brand new? When was this information available? Did we just overlook it? Did it not come out until this morning? If it just didn't come out until this morning, okay. If we overlooked it, I need to make sure we're not overlooking stuff in the future. I need to make sure that the information that we have when I put my presentation together is the real information, and that the only time anything changes for my presentation is because something changed since I made my presentation. Not just that, oh yeah, we just didn't think of it. Yeah, I guess we probably should have gotten that information. And if you just ignore what that fear told you, you're not using it to be better next time. Does that make some sense to you? Same thing as you set aside anger. So, I'm just going to ignore it. Okay, well, anger means you have a broken rule. So either, as you understand the anger as a broken rule, then either you need to change the rule, and there's a technique to change the rule, or you need to effectively communicate or work out a strategy to get the rule followed, and that's the use. And people who learn state management, people who learn instant state change, very often they get hung up on the M. They're doing one quarter of emotional intelligence. And they think they're doing well because that's an awesome skill. But they're missing these other pieces. And the danger is when you keep missing the message in the emotion. Missed messages create problems. Most of the big problems we run into in life are because of the little problems we didn't solve while they were still little problems. If you miss the message, you're missing the little problem. If you're capable of just doing instant state change, let's move forward, that's awesome. You want to have that skill. But then you go back and you look at the message. If you understand that emotion is a language, the language of emotions is telling you there's a message in here, and you don't want to go through your life and keep receiving these messages of, I don't like that message, toss it. I don't like that message, toss it. Because it will catch up with you. So learn the language of emotions. Develop your emotional IQ across all of the dimensions of emotional intelligence. You want to perceive how you really feel. You want to understand, and that's the most powerful thing in the language of emotions. It helps you understand, what is this feeling? What does it actually mean? What am I supposed to do about it? And then be able to do something about it in that use part. How do I use the emotion to work out a strategic change to make the things happen that need to happen so we don't have these kind of problems showing up again? Instant state change is great for management. Instant state change can sabotage, perceive, understand, and use. So learn instant state change, practice it. It's an amazing skill to have. Also learn the language of emotions. Learn what the emotions mean and master that as well, so you can get the other 75% of what emotional intelligence is. So this is Scott Conway, PhD, JD 8th degree black belt, with an emotional genius lesson, training you in emotional intelligence based on language of emotions 101A and 101B, and my book, Emotional IQ. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you for our next lesson.